Let me recognize senior government officials, if there are any here. I know Honorable Ntabasi is on her way here. I want to recognize as well the representative of the East African Community Secretariat, and also you, Chief Executive Officer of the East African Business Council, the ITC representative online, and you all business leaders, colleagues and friends who have joined us from different parts of Africa, and especially now being biased about my team from the Regional Service Center, and others who have come in, ITC and others. And all you wonderful women and men, welcome to the Pearl of Africa. I think I'll gamble with this a bit and speak, but I will encourage that we should get the participants some masks as well. We still have COVID here. Good morning to you all. And again, sincere gratitude to our friends who have joined us here all over the world. I want to recognize my sister, Adekemi, as well, UN Women, ITC, and the East African Business Council, and indeed our Regional Service Center. And thank you all for making this a reality. Now, let's have a conversation around why this thing matters. Because I know Mr. Bosco, Adekemi, and others would go into the details of the theory around AFCFTA and others. So I will not go into that because you'd have that presentation later on today. But why does this thing matter for Africa? Because from where we sit as UNDP, from where we sit as a United Nations, from where we sit as African, it is a paradox that we have all it takes to prosper as a continent, and yet we are still poor. When you're coming down today, you saw women and men, young men and women, running down the streets trying to make a living for themselves. We have the most arable land in the world. We have water resources. We have the sun. We have everything. Yet we're talking about still, how many years down the line, we're still talking about poverty eradication. There is something fundamentally wrong. And therefore, it beholds on us now to think through strategically, what does it mean for us to change and to disrupt what is happening now? And one of the ways we can do it is through trade. Because to think that Africa trades amongst itself 13.3%, it's incomprehensible. Yesterday, police came to the office and brought me chocolate because they had traveled and brought chocolate. I don't mention where the chocolate was coming from because I need to be politically correct. But I asked myself, why wasn't it chocolate from Ghana? Or chocolate from Nigeria? Or chocolate from Uganda? Where are the chocolates on the streets of our shops? They are not there. So what does it mean for us? So we are not trading amongst ourselves. I know Bella and others are here doing a fantastic job. We still import milk from other spaces other than Africa, in Ghana, Nigeria, and other places. Yet Uganda is pouring milk into the gutters, practically, literally speaking. There is something. So the more we encourage trade, the more we think about what does it mean to trade amongst ourselves. It means we are creating opportunities for young people for jobs. Adekemi, the other day, I don't know whether you were in Gulu with us, and we were coming, and you see a lot of young men, and we're chasing your car to sell pineapples. 6 pineapples, big pineapples. Sometimes just $1, $1.50. And then you have a factory in Ghana closing down because there are no pineapples. And you ask yourself, why? Why are the two countries not connecting? Because we could have traded amongst ourselves to sell those pineapples, to get the industry going, meaning more jobs, meaning more livelihoods, meaning more money in the pocket. So we need to begin to look at this as a development issue for our people and disrupt what is not working. The second reason why it matters is COVID and COVID recovery. If COVID has taught us anything, and we know the impacts have been very painful, but it has taught us to be self-sufficient, to think about structural transformation, to think about how we can be able to produce for ourselves, create wealth for ourselves, because when COVID hit, all of a sudden, our economy struggled. Young men and women lost jobs. Industries collapsed. And we tell ourselves, as we build forward better, what does it mean for us to invest in trade? Including trade in services anyway. country like Uganda is perhaps one of the most beautiful you can find on earth. Tourism is a potential. Why are Africans not coming here? All of us are going elsewhere, bad for Uganda, bad for Nigeria, bad for Botswana. Why? So as we rethink COVID recovery, what is the strategic role that trade can play? Include trade in goods, trade in services. The other reason why it matters, and I know that there are some political economy, international politics, and we're not going to the politics of it, but the war we're experiencing now, and the impact on food security, fuel, is telling us a story. To think that we import wheat from other spaces, yet we have the most arable land in the world, there's something fundamentally wrong. It's why can't we produce wheat here in Uganda or elsewhere? Or fertilizers, because we have the phosphorus and others. What does it mean? Uganda just found the most deposits of rare earth in the world to produce the phones, all the equipment that we hold our phones and having conversation. We have those things in Africa. But if we don't start looking at value addition, adding value to it, tomorrow the same thing will be taken away from us, repackaged and brought back to us to be bought. And that's what we are talking about. So when we're talking about this trade thing, let's not see it as, okay, we came for a workshop, we went through FCFTA, we did something fun, we went back to, we must think development, we must think structural transformation, we must think leaving no one behind. It's not just a theoretical thing when we say leaving no one behind. Who are we leaving behind? The women. We are leaving the youth behind, the Wananchis. And therefore, for us to be able to touch the lives of the men and women of Africa, we have the youngest continent on earth. 75% of our people are young. Uganda, 78% of the people of Uganda are below the age of 30 years. We cannot talk about poverty eradication, job creation, when we can't create jobs. 700,000 people come into the job market every year. But how many of them can be absorbed by the public sector? It therefore means that entrepreneurship, trade, becomes the instrument for us. And I'm saying this passionately because I want us to take this FCFTA, and we have put our efforts behind this as UNDP, quite frankly, whether at the regional level, at the country level, because we believe in that cause. And this is the cause that we're able to change the destiny of our people and to ensure that we create wealth and opportunity.
Recording done.
So again, the why matters. No continent, no country has developed without trading amongst itself. And we have to take this thing very, very seriously. Now, what are some of the things that we are doing? I know there's a lot of things, and Kemi, thank you for highlighting some of the things that we are also doing with you. As UNDP, again, at the regional level, we are supporting the Secretariat. I know Komi and team will speak about some of these things, but let me focus a bit on Uganda, what we are trying to do, and how that could inspire as you go back to your countries to work with your partners, to work with your other colleagues to be able to do that. One of the things that we are focusing on is readiness. Because I think the conversations we've had over and over again, whether it's with women, with youth, with diplomats, with everybody, readiness. How do we position ourselves? And that readiness, we are working a lot on awareness raising. I think in the past 1 year, we've done something unprecedented, working with umbrella organizations, reaching thousands and thousands of private sector small businesses to tell them about the opportunity. And I was in Ghana last year, and it was very interesting, and the power of information. We asked for coffee. Said, we want African coffee. And then my beautiful Ghanaian sister said, we don't do African coffee here. We don't do African coffee here. It's from, he mentioned some other name which I will not say. Why did she say that we don't do African coffee here? Because she doesn't even know that coffee comes from Uganda, or Rwanda, or Kenya. We just don't have that information. We just don't know. And so we must be able to saturate the minds of young people and women and men about the opportunity in terms of information. But the other thing we're also working on is the strategy, the FCFT strategy, because I think we are one of the late to submit one, but it's currently in the making, and the government is leading that process with the support of the United Nations. We are also looking at what kind of facilities can support, what kind of capacity, instruments, funding can support. Because it's not just about trading. How do you trade when you are not facilitated? And finally, the conversations around the women and youth protocol. Recently, we also taken advantage of working with African diplomats because they have to tell the story and they have to show the way. And 2 weeks ago, UN Women and ourselves were working with the South African ambassador because they had the South African Women's Week. And we used that opportunity to push AFCFTA, and we brought some women from other African countries. A few weeks ago, with the Uganda Women's Entrepreneurship Association, UWIL, over 1,500 women were here in Uganda, again on trade matters, again on AFCFTA, and to push the agenda forward. And we continue to push, and we continue to push. And I'm now concluding my statement. It will take you and I to cause that revolution. And I do hope that when we come into some of these sessions, it's not really about, yeah, I came, it's about my business. How do we handhold each other? How do we network? How do we make sure that things are done in a very much more strategic and cohesive way? And no big English now. For us, no big English, practical things. We're going to begin to send women from country to country. Go talk to your sisters and see what opportunities are there. No big English. You know, it pains me. I mean, I carried vegetables from Uganda to Ghana. Vegetables, huh? Broccoli, cauliflower. Because Uganda has perhaps one of the finest vegetables you can pick. And in my suitcase, carrying quickly through customs, and I'm giving some to my staff members, let's go. And I'm asking myself, why can't we connect the market woman in Nakawa with Makola woman? Or the market woman here with the market woman in, what's the market in Abuja? Usem. Practical things. We will send the market women there. They also come here. No big English. No big. I like the big English, but no big English. Let's make it real. Let's make it functional. And we are depending on you women leaders to work with us. And men for that. But let's make this thing work. Because my fear is a lot of times African countries, things come our way and it passes us by. It passes us by. Climate financing comes and it passes us by. This comes and it passes us by. This is our chance. It's an African instrument. We must feel proud about it. We must run with this. We must cause the development of the revolution. So thank you very much once again. I hope I've inspired you.